Hi everyone. It's day 3 of us being together, and I want to kind of start on a bit of a somber note, but then we will get positive. I just heard yesterday, and I posted that Chef Floyd Cardo's passed away from COVID in New York. He was in Bombay recently. Bombay Canteen is co-owned by one of the Inc. fellows, and so he's been an indirect friend of Inc. And obviously, we've known him for a very, very long time through tabla, etc. So this is the first time it's somebody I know has passed away. So it's hitting home a lot more, and it's and whatever is hitting home is making me cherish the things that matter a lot more. I've been talking to a lot of my venture capital friends, and everybody is in a frenzy. Everybody is wondering how they're going to survive, and everybody's on the phone a lot more than ever before. And yet, I feel that it is so important to take the time to enjoy things that matter, you know. So, again, as I was sharing for the last couple of days, this is the time you reminisce about things, you think of the past. And I was thinking of, summers when I was growing up in Hyderabad. Summers were really a lot of fun because that's the time you have holidays, and you're at home, you wake up at 8 o'clock or 9 in the morning and you hang out. And I would always go to our village. My mother's family is from Eluru in Andhra, and my father's side is from Guntur. So, and my sister, who's 18 years older than me, she got married when I was 4, and her 4.5, and her in-laws were in Kakinada. So my summer was all roaming between Hyderabad, Eluru, Gunturu, and Kakinada. So I used to go around there. And in every place, summer had the same ritual. And the ritual is in the evening times. It didn't matter. In Kakinada, it was the terrace. In Hyderabad, it was a terrace. In Guntur, it was a front yard. Or in, Eluru, it was also the terrace. And in the evening, at about 6 o'clock in the evening, the household help would come and put water on the terrace or on the floor. It is so hot that steam would come from the floor. And like even in our house in Hyderabad, I remember all outside and on the terrace, they would put water and clean the floor. And so it would cool down a little bit. All that hot air from the floor would go up. The heat from that would go up because of the water, and they'd clean everything. And then wait till it dries, and then they would put mats. And on top of the mats, there would be mattresses, and then fresh sheets, and then all the pillows and pillowcases, all in a row. Like there'd be like about 10 mattresses in a row and pillows. And we would all sleep out there next to each other. My sisters and me, my cousins, my dad, uncles, all of us would sleep. I mean, some of the uncles or my dad got a little bit of a special treatment in that they had their own bed. And I think of so many things. Life was so beautiful and so simple. And the beds that they would put outside, there were two kinds of beds. One were like these folding beds, and they open up, and it's sort of like a canvas cover. You open up and then you put a mattress on top of it and sleep. Or the other kind of beds had a wooden frame, and there's this thick cotton bands, thick bands, and they would put them on the bed both along the length as well as the width. So it formed this kind of a lattice, and so that created very strong thing. And once in every 2 months, my grandpa or somebody would make me sit, and they would tighten all the things so that it's a very firm bed, but made of this lattice, made out of this very thick cotton strings. And then you put a mattress on top of it. These were like light, you could carry them. So my dad or my uncle sometimes got a little special treatment in that they had their own bed, but all the kids, my sisters, we would all lie down at night on these beds, and we'd be looking up, we'd look at the stars, and somebody would be telling a story, or we would be playing old Hindi songs on the radio, or somebody would sing. And one of the most interesting rituals was that in every house they made these beds on the terrace. So in the evening, pretty much everybody came up. So we would all stand on our terrace and chat with the next door people. Just chit chat, what happened, etc. Literally till 11 or 12 at night, we would be chatting, we would talk, and there was no TV, there was no nothing, just the music and talks. So I was just thinking that we had such wonderful relationships with our neighbors. Like I would always, when the evening rolls by, I would check what's for dinner at home. If I didn't like it, I would jump over the wall, go to my neighbor's house, see what's there for dinner. If I didn't like it, I would go across the street to Auntie's house, Manmohan Singh Auntie's house. It's so interesting. We used to call people, the women, by the name of the man. Like, for example, Mr. Manmohan Singh lived across the street from us, and we would just call her Manmohan Singh Auntie, But anyway, she was an amazing cook. So sometimes I would sneak into their house to see what's there to eat. And the point is, relationship with neighbors was very, very fluid, very dynamic, and very casual. And we live in an amazing community in Bangalore. We know a lot of our neighbors, but we are all working all the time, and we never have the time to really get to know each other. So what I did was, on the day when Prime Minister Modi spoke at 8 p.m. earlier that day, there was no lockdown that day, and we were planning to go to our neighbor's house for a drink. So they chilled some wine, and we were just going to go there. And 8 o'clock, this news came, and we all, we should not have done, but we did. Went to the grocery stores to pick up that one bag of rice or a thing of salt you forgot or whatever. But bottom line, we didn't get together that day. So we were chatting across our kitchen windows this morning. And then we said, hey, why don't we get together this evening? We can't go to each other's house, but still, right outside our kitchen, we'll put a couple of chairs in our yard. They put a couple of chairs in their yard. And we said, let's just, spend an hour together. And it was like kind of part personal, part professional, because we wanted to know what each other did and learn how we could, potentially, collaborate or just get to know what each other does. And so they brought out the chilled wine, we brought our glasses, and we filled it, and, somebody was having chai, somebody was having wine, and we sat there. And like for an hour, we just sat and chatted. And my neighbor is a private equity guy, and he was telling me about their investment strategy and what they have invested in, which of their companies are doing well, and like when something like this happens, how they're doing some things to make sure people are feeling positive and all that stuff. So it was really interesting. I felt I learned a lot. They were talking about how RBI has put out a rule saying, so basically, if you miss your payments for 2-3 months or so, you won't be penalized for it. So they're giving these relaxations and things like that. And since they invest, one of the investments is in a bank, they're trying to figure out all the repercussions and all that. So I learned something, about him as to how this works. And they both are chartered accountants. So we got to talking about how they both met, and they kind of grew up in the same locality. And we talked about how my husband and I met. So it was really nice to just get to take this hour just to get to know each other. And I learned something from him about, about the way they are going about their private equity investments and how they're looking at it, what they have already, and what are the parameters. And he was also talking a lot about investments. It's just not strategy, but having certain social responsibility and certain ethics in place on what you would invest in, what you would not invest in. And we were talking a little bit about diagnostic centers, and he said we don't invest in diagnostic centers. And I asked him, why is that? And he was saying that pretty much in 90% of the cases, or a lot of the cases, maybe 90% is not the right number, there is always a kickback. So when there's a diagnostic center that's doing the labs, there is a kickback from the doctor, from the lab to the doctor, most of the time. And it's true, because one of my friends has experienced this firsthand. So he was telling me that he was so shocked that there was an operation that was suggested for his father, and finally the doctor told him that maybe you shouldn't do the operation, you just wait for a while and then you decide. And he said, I didn't want to say anything in front of your family doctor, because out of this 18 lakhs, 3 lakhs was, or 2 lakhs was going to go to your family doctor. And my friend said, here there is somebody who's been my family doctor since I was a kid, practically part of my family. And it just jarred me to think that they suggested something, is it mainly for the kickback, or did they really believe this needs to happen? The moment there is a kickback, it's always a gray area. So anyway, so we were talking about these kinds of things, that even when you invest, what kind of philosophy you may have, what kind of concerns you may have, etc. And it's not to say everyone is like that. It's just that when the practice is such, it's difficult to know what's right and what's wrong. So for while we were talking about how do you decide who you work with and who you don't work with, how do you decide which company you partner with, which company you do not partner with, if you take, say, a company like an ITC that has amazing hotels, and they do some of the best work in the agri business in helping the farmers and all that stuff, but they also sell cigarettes. So do you not work with them at all? Or do you work with only the divisions that you believe in? The bottom line is, it's so gray. So it was very interesting to talk for an hour about investment strategies and what you need to go through, how you decide, and how you measure success, and how you need to be there for the long haul, and how there are many, many businesses that are not fashionable. It may be like an insurance business or a loan business. I mean, it could be lots of other things that we don't see or we don't know, that really are the rocks of our economy. So which kind of companies do you support and not support? So the point is, that whole thinking I had about the terraces, sleeping out at night, chatting with people across terraces, I really felt we needed to do something to communicate with our neighbors, spend some time with them, really getting to know them with no ulterior motive. of just truly learning about each other. And we just had such a wonderful time. Still, we are in our home, they are in their home across the little fence, sharing a glass of wine and chatting in the evening, which was really beautiful. And we thought we should do this more often. And there's so many more topics of talking about our teenagers, about school system, about so many things, but just a half an hour break each day or 45-minute break each day to communicate with each other is really, really fantastic. So Sakshi says hello from Ozone. Hi, hello from Ozone. And so it's been really interesting to, you know, get to know our neighbors. And the second thing I realize is that I'm talking to a lot of people. We have a lot of people in the Inc. community who are technologists, who are doctors, who are writers, various people. And I've been talking to them a lot, and I thought it'd be really interesting if we can bring them onto this show, into this half an hour, and get different perspectives. So, one of the things I'd love to hear from all of you listeners is what sort of people you would like to hear from. Would you like to hear a perspective from a doctor who's really in the middle of setting some policies and looking at it, which I definitely would have someone like that. And I'll bring in some musician to talk about it, etc. And the other thing I was thinking about is someone who's in the online networking business, someone who has the tools to be able to connect everybody to each other a little later on, maybe a week or so later. We can get that sort of people, and we can get a chef. With restaurants closed, what are chefs doing? In what way are they figuring this out? And also, we thought we'll bring a well-being expert, somebody who can talk about how can we all keep ourselves physically fit, mentally fit in these times. So these are all the sorts of people we'll bring in for like 10 minutes each day. So you will get a better sense of what's going on or what's happening in the world. And also we have amazing supporters from Latin America, from New York. So we'll bring some people from other parts of the world to let us know what's going on there. My nephew is an emergency doctor in London, in Birmingham. So I thought I'll have him over. And, we have our ink future makers in New York, in the Bay Area, etc. We'll bring them on board. And we'll also bring somebody from a company like a YouTube or a Netflix. How are they coping with the increased demand, or what's happening, and what way are they contributing to the community. So we'll bring some people like that. So every day I'm going to be bringing different people. The other thing I'm also trying to figure out is the channel through which we communicate. Is Insta Live the right channel, or is Facebook Live the right channel? And that is somebody that is something we are figuring it out, and I'll keep you posted which channel we end up using, because one of the things is that it's so interesting. The younger generation is so comfortable with things being temporary. You put a story, it goes away in 24 hours, or you say something, it goes away. Hi, Durga. Lots of things. But somehow for me, I want to archive whatever I'm saying. I want to hold on to what I'm saying. So the fact that in Insta Live it goes away after 24 hours is, sort of not okay with me. And actually, my colleague Godwin, who does all our video, etc., has figured out a way to download this. But it's, so we are trying to figure out the right one. And I see Tarun saying we should bring a philosopher. Great idea. I will definitely talk to someone. The philosophy, sociologist. I was also thinking of bringing someone I know from New York area who is, I don't know if they're accessible or so. And there are people who have been studying evolutionary biologists, because in some ways, I think we all need to put a perspective on what's happening. And Fluo HQ, that must be Abhi. Hi, hello, Abhi, you're late to the meeting. Anyway, so I think it's important to look at where we come from, especially I think I shared with you guys, with my family, we are listening to audiobook, Yuval Harari's Sapiens, and I've been always fascinated by evolutionary biology, and thanks to our fellow and the amazing filmmaker, Anand Gandhi. He's another person I'll be bringing on board. And also, a lot of our fellows who are doing really, really amazing work. We'll have them and we'll have them chat and tell us what's going on in their lives, etc. So, but Anand Gandhi has been really influential in my life to talk about evolutionary biology for a very, very long time. So I think he's somebody I would love to bring on board to talk about it. So these are the sorts of people we are thinking about bringing, and I've been learning a lot from them in the last few days. And I thought, why not have the conversations I'm having with them on the phone in front of all of you, so that you get to know who they are as well. So, a quick summary of today. I started with saying about Floyd Cardo's. I learned about his demise, and because of COVID, and it's hitting home much closer. And in that sadness comes the need to connect with your neighbors, with people in a lot more personal way. So then I shared with all of you about how my neighbors and I decided to sit across the fence and have a glass of wine and chat with each other. So please do make the effort with people around you to get to know them a little bit. And finally, about how to make this show more interactive and make sure that we have a lot of people coming in. So I experimented a little bit today, so I figured out how to do it. So we'll bring different people. So be a little patient, because we are getting them from different parts, and sometimes it may work, it may not work, but I think it'll be really worth it to connect with people from all over the world, to connect with people from very, very different disciplines and hear what's happening. So we will bring you people from, across different continents to share with us what's going on. So that's the plan on this show every day at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And if you have family, friends in the Bay Area or New York or other parts of the world, ask them to join as well. And I just want to end by saying that, life's as positive as you make it to be. Either we can say, why is this happening to me? Or we can say, thank God the worst didn't happen to me. And I think it's best if we stay positive and say that I'm glad for everything that I have. And with that, I really, really would love to be in touch with you. And someone says, share an ordinary perspective from Canada. Yes, tomorrow, please come back and we'll get you in and let us know what's happening in Canada. And I'll see you all tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. IST. Bye-bye.